Is July 15th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Preparing Your Charts for Trading. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we might have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, I don't see any, so I like to get started on time. Everybody knows that, right? I want to show you something I've kind of been playing around with a little bit, and I'll show you a little screen here. Now keep in mind, even when you use a one range chart on your alerts, you're still using four range bars, so they don't actually paint all the bars, because obviously they have to actually, close a bar, and a four range bar, everybody knows, takes a full 4 ticks, right? This is actually just the alert on a black background, and I simply changed the down one, the smaller one, the minor one, to red, and the other one to that white color, or maybe an off aqua. And see how you can, Charles talks about seeing granularity in his charts on ES. This really gives you granularity, doesn't it? It really tells you when this thing starts stair-stepping up. And I need to actually get a pause button on this right to the side here, because I'd like to actually be able to have a pause button and just click pause, and I'd be able to see this and draw my trend lines or whatever. Anyway, it's just something I'm playing with. Always thinking, trying to stay outside the box. All right, so let's go ahead and take this one down. And I'm going to turn on the regular. And you can clearly see it here. Now, this is actually what was going on about the time that I got up, I believe. I got up around, this is before I got up, so that'd be fair. All right. Now, everybody, when you draw on your charts in the morning, of course, what you want to do is you want to also draw your big ranges and things like that, because Charles teaches that extremely well. Okay, you want to look at your overall chart and draw your big lines and everything. But keep in mind that, if you're trading and you want to get these little trades, like I called on oil this morning, for instance, we nailed a 60-tick trade, then that just takes preparing your charts also. And what I do first off is I like to look at a chart and see where everything is as far as support and resistance, okay? So I see a support right across here, okay? I would simply draw a trend line. Okay, that's preparing my chart for the morning trading. But for instance, if I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time, it doesn't really matter. You just want to prepare your chart. Okay, now looking on the left side of the chart, I can clearly see that I'm stair-stepping up with my lightning, right? Okay, now when would it no longer be stair-stepping up? Anybody? It would be right under here that it would quit stair-stepping up, wouldn't it? As far as what we got right now, anyway. That's your lightning swing identified on the left side of the screen. Okay, on the right side, we don't really know except by looking at the actual price chart. Okay, but if I was getting up trading this, I would look at this chart and say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to chase this, because obviously it's heading up, and would you want to take a chance that you'd be buying a thrust? Like, for instance, if you were to box this in even right here, would that be very smart, for an uptrend? Probably not, because if I did that, I would literally not even let it, if it popped out of the box, I wouldn't even let it go back in the top of that box. Everybody see why on that? Because it's already in a thrust. That's why actually, when we missed that Russell this morning and called it after it got to mid-band instead and it got a good trade, that's what you got to do. I mean, you've got to either, box it in, or you've got to wait for the retracement. Okay? Now, everybody knows when they break out of where resistance was, that they're going to usually check it as support, right? So, that's why we draw our lines on our charts. And so what I would do, for instance, preparing my chart for trading, I would simply be drawing on my chart like this. I'd be drawing a line right there. I can see that it busted up above it. It has not checked it. I would draw another line right here at mid-band, and I'd see if that's at any swing at all. If it's not, then mid-band won't be hit. Okay, now if it was like here, for instance, see your little swing, thrust, retrace, thrust, you expect this, if it's going to head up, it's not going to take this out. Because remember, the rule of thumb is it's got to do the lightning stair step. Okay, and if it doesn't stair step, then obviously it's going to go deeper. Okay, so I'd be looking here, and I'd be looking here at this mid-band. Okay, but keep in mind that you're going to miss out on some good trades if you don't draw on your charts and get them. Some people asked in the room this morning, Gary, why did you call 36 on oil? It was a mid-band trade, but we weren't open at the mid-band. I showed, as a matter of fact, that I had boxed it. I was in the trade, but the 36 that I called was the little retrace that we all wanted, okay, for the room open. Because remember, the room's only open from 7:55 until 10 o'clock, so you can't trade what you didn't see unless you were sitting there at your computer, of course, trading it, okay? So what I would personally do is I would turn on my alert. I've got minimum criteria on. I've got mid-band on just in case it gets down here. Now, let me go over just a little bit about these alerts for people that are a little bit newer, okay? Now, if we get what we call a minimum criteria trade, it has to go below stealth and line 6, okay? And it has to close below stealth and line 6. It can't wick it or it won't draw it, okay? So, I'm really looking for a trade down in here, but keep in mind that if this doesn't go ahead and stair step up, then we may be looking at this area right here even. But we'll watch for an actual, minimum criteria type trade, okay? How many of you, get tired of getting up in the morning? Let's just pretend this is 7:30 instead. Don't you get tired of this where they've already done their thing? And then you think, wow, will they bounce here? Will they come down here? Will they come down here? And the truth of the matter is nobody really knows except our scripts. And we watch for predictors and we watch for the lines that we draw on the charts. And if we're wrong, we're only wrong for a moment because we're going to be out of that trade. Okay? Any questions on it thus far? I get tired of punching a time clock. I don't blame you there, Dennis. I punched one of those for a few years when I worked for Lowe's as their appliance specialist in Oklahoma City. And I don't like punching clocks. Actually, we didn't punch a clock technically because I was salaried, and they just made you work all the time. That's the only difference in salaried employment versus hourly. When you're salaried, they can just put you to work anytime they want. When the big wigs came into town, we stayed till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning straightening that store up simply because we were salary and we didn't cost them anything. All right, anyway, that's off subject. Hi, Gary, had a hard time getting into this webinar. Aspen, I'm sorry about that. If anybody ever has a problem getting into a webinar, be sure and go to your Windows, to your control panel, and remove, like GoToWebinar. You might have an older version or something, and then when you log in, it'll reinstall the newest version they've got, and you're probably going to be pretty good. Okay? Now, does everybody see what we're talking about here, though? I mean, what would you do in a situation like this? You've got to wait for a retrace, or if you take a break, you don't want it to go against you. Okay? You got to wait, exactly. That's why, just like we said, when we miss a trade in that room, if we miss it, we're going to wait for some kind of a retrace. Now, we did call a retrace on Russell, but we said it wasn't deep enough for even a minimum criteria trade, but it definitely did punch at stealth and tried to close above it, just couldn't make it, and then it rolled over. So you can take those, okay? But if you don't want to chase it, don't worry about it. There's trades on charts all the time. Okay, so When we're talking about retracements on trades, okay, minimum criteria is the least type trade that you really want to take. All right, on a long, it's going to be below line 6 and stealth. If you get fortunate enough for it to be a mid-band trade, that's actually a much better trade as far as, getting more of a, for instance, if this comes down all the way into here and then bounces, you're going to probably get a pretty good trade, at least up into here and maybe higher. Okay, where a minimum criteria trade, you're taking a little bit more chance because, when it closes below line 6 and stealth, it's really only 12 ticks from that top. Maybe a little more since it would have to close below it. Okay, so you've got to get in those fairly quick, and you'll do it basically when you see the little blue is what the color of it is. See, minimum criteria is like a cyan color. Okay, all these colors, by the way, on our indicator, when you turn them on, they turn on the particular color also, and you get to choose the color. Okay, now remember, just like I taught on this deal right here, okay, that lightning comes in 3 flavors, basically. This is virtually the same chart. I just redrew it by hand to show people how lightning 3 works and how lightning 1 works and how lightning 2 works. But they're virtually the same, okay, because they've all got higher lows and higher highs. This is an uptrend, obviously, on this particular chart. The only one that actually got a downtrend was right here, where you got a high, a low, a little lower high, and then started stair-stepping down. But that wasn't technically a downtrend, right, because it was just looking at a previous swing on a little bit larger lightning. Okay, so be sure and draw your lightning on your charts. If you can't see it, draw it. It's pretty important. I'll draw lightning 1. See, there's lightning 1 right there. And that's pretty much telling you, obviously, that the trend is to the upside, right? It's pretty obvious. Okay, but we've got to wait for a retrace. So we're going to draw on our charts, and we're going to try to get that retrace. Okay, now, rather than just drawing on your charts, nobody's a genius in any kind of trades as far as that goes, because, for instance, if you're a fib trader, is this going to do a fib retracement? Well, if it did, you get down to right in this area right here maybe, and a 50% would be right at mid-band, okay? But what if it doesn't do that? And you're waiting for it to get there, and you're thinking, by golly, I'm going to wait until it does. Well, just like Russell this morning, it doesn't always do it. Okay, sometimes they're just strong and they just go. Okay, so what's the rule then? Basically, what you're going to want to do is, if you were long on this trade, I would be watching my stop. See these little white bars flashing? That's pretty much telling you got a white bar here and a white bar here. I would not let them take out that white bar right there if I was long, simply because if they do, they'll probably come down deeper, okay, to a previous swing. Okay, that's getting out of a trade early, or at least use line 6. But keep in mind that may be where we get in too, because we're going to be looking at minimum criteria trade very possibly. Okay, now does anybody have any questions so far on drawing on your chart? Bear with me a second. Let's see. This is a good example around 347 time. Please tell me why the mid-band a mid-band down move is not materialized. To me, that is a short. Well, this isn't a short. Now, this was a short here. This is a phantom trade. Okay, but remember, this has already happened, and we just opened up, or we just got up out of bed, and this is what we're seeing on our chart. So this is definitely an uptrend. See your low, your high, higher low, higher high, and even a higher low here. See there? Higher low. So could you have boxed this in, even though this was a rose color background? We do it all the time. Okay, we would have taken this short on phantom, taken our coin, and then more than likely probably boxed this in right across here. Okay, and by the way, that's not in hindsight either. You can clearly see that it was starting to stair step up. You could even draw a trend line across there, like so, and get in the trade even. Okay, but that is definitely a long trade. And our background will change to green. our mid-band will change to either lime green or blue when you're looking for a long type trade. Okay, but it doesn't mean you can't take this trade down here. Charles taught this trade really well on Saturday. It's called a transition trade. How did you know this was transitioning? Just real quick to go over Charles's webinar on Saturday. Because you were getting a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. You know, you're waiting for a retrace. If you get another higher low, they're more than likely going to head up. Okay, because what is a trend? Stair step. Okay, this is stair step lightning 3. Okay, and this is stair step lightning 1. See there? Okay, so now since we're looking at a retrace instead of a breakout, we're going to hope it at least comes down to here for a minimum criteria trade. Okay, so let's just see. We're not going to use object traders much tonight. I want to teach everybody to really draw on these charts, because drawing on your charts is critical to trading. Let's watch this little one too, just for the fun of it. I'm going to watch this little one range chart here, just for the fun of it. I got to get a pause button on that. That bugs me. Flashes, and then you go, wow, where'd it go? Okay, see, it's pulling back. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, you didn't get a minimum criteria. You didn't check here yet. Okay, so is this a trade, anybody? Yes or no? Because I don't personally think so. Now that is, see there? That is. See the minimum criteria? Okay, let me pause this for just a second. This is a minimum criteria trade setting up right here. This is a cyan colored bar. It closed below line 6 and it closed below stealth. That is the criteria for a minimum criteria trade. Okay, so now I would be drawing on my chart. See where predictor drew? By the way, don't discount these predictors at all, because you know when it's looking at this price action, it's looking as it's doing it, and then it's going, okay, I'm going to draw a predictor. And look where it drew it, where I put my line to begin with. But now that's telling you that very possibly they're going to just bounce right off that predictor. So what do you think? How would you do this trade? And how tight of a stop would you do if it goes against you? Anybody? Box it? Trend line it? Well, trend lines are pretty good. I like trend lines. Okay, let's draw a trend line, and then we'll draw a box also. All right, so I'll just draw a line type ray instead of drawing an actual ray. All right, there's a trend line. All right, predictor saying it should bounce here. How would you box it? Well, you could actually box it with that bar if it takes that trend line out. See what I mean? Because if this trade bounces off this line, I would probably buy it anyway, because that's a predictor. And that predictor is telling me that it's going to bounce off that line. Let's see, would you just grab it at the line? Yeah, Chuck, absolutely you could. Because, you know, when they break resistance like this and then come back and kiss it, that can very well be a very, very good trade. But if they go lower, your swing's all the way down here. I wouldn't put my stop way down there. All right, I'd look to the left to trade the right. Let's say that you get in here. I'd expect them to hit their head at least by this swing right here. So I would draw a line on my chart like so. So in other words, if I buy it at this line, I'm not going to let it go below that one. Just in case they decide to literally go to mid-band. Why would I want to give them 15 ticks? But keep in mind that I'm not going to buy this just, you know, willy-nilly unless you're going to put a limit order at this line. Okay? Now this is exactly the type of trading that we do day in and day out. When I called that trade on oil this morning at 36, we're going to get to that trade in a little bit, because I'm going to show you, you know, how and why I diagnosed it that way and how accurate it was. I didn't miss any trades today that I remember. I missed taking a trade. I missed Russell. But if you're trading, you know, 2 other charts, who cares? Because we also called some trades on gold too, and they were good. All right, so I guess we could go ahead and, let's don't use Object Trader tonight. I want to just see if these do what we think they'll do. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. Just very little. Okay. You've got it boxed. If it comes down a little bit further, you can actually box it even tighter. See, like something like that. There's your entry. See it right there? Hit my line exactly. Now, this particular trade did not turn into be a mid-band type trade. Notice that? But isn't it amazing how this predictor picked that out in real time, that's the way that price action was doing right there? It was looking to the left to trade the right because we taught it to do it. And you got well, it looks like a fairly decent trade. All right, you'd put your stop just under the line now, because now that they've bounced off that line, I don't think I'd let them go, again. Okay. So let's say that you got in there and you put your stop just under 29. Let's see what it did. Be sure and bank some coin when it gets to the top, and there's your top. All right. You could be out of this trade because it double topped if you wanted to be. Everybody see that? You have a high, you have a low, you have the same high. So technically this isn't a lightning yet. You have a high, low, lower high right now. So it would have to take out this swing to me to get out of that trade if I was using lightning. Okay. And then let's see what that would have been if you would have gotten in the trade, basically like on this bar that closed up when it bounced off the line, because that's where we had the line drawn. See there? Okay. So let's say that you got in at 34, all right, and you took profit at 46. That's 12 ticks, and then you're riding a runner, right? For right now, you're riding a runner. Okay, so let's see what it goes ahead and does. And we're going to get to 8 o'clock. This was before I even got up this morning. I normally am up at 5:30, 5 o'clock, but not today. It was a weekend slumber, I guess. Okay, see how that took you out? All right. Now, what do you got sitting right in front of you again? A predictor. Okay. Could you take this trade if, let's say, for instance, that it's bouncing off a predictor. Let's just say that we're in this on the bar close. Let's say we got in at 39. Okay, let's see if it works out. Little scalp, that's about it. All right. Did that scalp on that trade right there? Yes. Okay. Now what about this trade right here? Now this is a mid-band trade right here. Okay. Now look to the left to trade the right. Let's see if we can diagnose this chart correctly. This webinar is about getting your chart ready for trading. Let's see if we can do it. Drawing our chart. Let me get rid of these lines. All right. So you have a high, you have a low, you have a same high, you have a higher low and a higher high. So that is an established swing right there. All right. So what do you expect it to do right here? It should bounce, shouldn't it? So let's say that you got long on this bar right here, or even a trend line break. Let's do that even. That's a little late for me because I'd already be in it because that's a higher low. But let's see what it did. Everybody remember that trade? Anybody remember it? Now, let me ask a quick question. If you were actually in this trade from down here, all right, and it kind of topped out up here, all right, where would your entry be on this chart? Because we just now are 10 minutes away from opening the room. Do you see the same swing that I did this morning? Anybody? If you don't, then draw it. Okay, let's draw it. Let me draw it from down here. Hopefully it'll draw. All right, everybody see it? All right, When I opened the room this morning, this is what it was doing right here. Let's go ahead and fast forward this just a little bit to room open, to be fair. We opened the room at 7:55. There it is. There's 7:55. All right. Does anybody remember this trade right here? Did this turn out to be a decent trade? Always draw on your charts. Remember that trade? Turned out to be a monster. Now, always be sure and draw on your chart. Look to the left, and then also look at the left one, look at the right one, and draw two lines, okay? So what you want to do, see how this one kissed this line instead? What I was saying this morning when we were in this trade was that basically you had a high, you had a low, you had a higher high. So this had to hold if they were going to continue up without doing like a real deeper retracement. Okay, does everybody see that? So what did they actually do when they did that? Well, you basically had price right here at 36 on that swing, and they came down and kissed it. So could you have boxed in this trade right here even, like so, and gotten that monster trade? Because it was called live. It was actually called at 36. But the reason it was called at 36 is because I drew on my charts, and I had this line sitting at 36, and I had another line sitting up here, just like this on this swing at 40. Okay, so is that a good little sweet spot to draw that in for a trade? Now notice it didn't come down to predictor, but could it come down to predictor in this particular instance? Not really, because it made a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. So that needed to hold on a pullback. Now when you look over here, to give an example, see where you have a high, a low, same high, higher low, higher high? Did you notice they didn't take this out over here at all? Matter of fact, they were, looks like one tick higher even. So see, when you're trading, it's amazing how these traders do with these mega, whatever they do with their, high frequency and all that. But you have a high, you have a low, you have a higher high, like an ABC. All right. And then notice that they got a higher low by one tick. That's still an uptrend. Now, if they would have taken out 29, that would have probably been a trend change. Not right away, but you've got to always look to the left to trade the right. And what I see in this particular instance, let's just do it in the larger thing. This is your thrust. Everybody see that? This is your retrace. And this was your thrust with an ABC. All right, so let's draw it. Okay, so if you were looking to the left to trade the right, and by the way, Lightning 3 will draw that exact thing. I just drew it by hand to show you. But see, this is a low here established, what we call identified swing. Anytime you get a low that takes out the previous swing to the left, that's an identified swing. All right, so this became your higher low, and amazingly, you went up 60 ticks. Okay? Now, let me ask a quick question. If somebody saw this, and by the way, I called 94 on this trade this morning, and it came to 92, remember? And I said, fade it. And when we fade at least 2 to 3 ticks. Some trade even fade like 5 ticks, just simply because you want to be out of that thing before they start dropping it. Okay, because, that was a clear double top. Okay, but let me show you another tool that if you're not watching 4 other charts like we're doing in the room and everything, that you might want to take a look at. I want to show you a little tool that we got here. You can actually, let me pause this first. I don't want this to trigger yet. I want to show you how to do a lightning trade. Now see right here where these 4 power meters are still green, you've got a tool on here called lightning, and you can actually, if they start breaking like a lightning swing, you can actually go ahead and and even short a chart. Now, another way you could do this is look at this type of a chart, and where would this actually, more than likely, if you were to say box it in, so to speak, could you actually box it? Let's see here. Where'd my rectangle go? There it is. Something like this right here, right? Because see, that's stair stepping up with higher lows, but that is a low that is established on a really small chart. Okay. So could you actually, if you're more of a gutsy trader, could you short that trade right there? And the answer is yes. But again, you're going to want to do that with very little loss against you if this decides to pop. Now, one thing I want to caution everybody on though, okay? Gold the other morning had a beautiful phantom trade that could have easily been a long trade from the mid band. But if you would have been long when gold decided to take it down, it took it down like 60 ticks in just a matter of seconds. So you want to also pretty much stay on the right side of the trade. Okay. Now, what could you do though? Let's say, for instance, let's draw on our chart. Let's draw on this thing. All right, we've got support right here over on the left. All right, we've got support right here over on the left, like so. All right, if you draw your chart like this, if they were to come down and have trouble taking resistance and roll, could you even short it with a background like this? You actually can. But there's another tool that you can even do, and that's stealth. And stealth, if you get a red stealth for a short, it'll actually fire a short trade. And it has to have a red stealth though. You'll see it actually happen in real time. Because remember, this trade was called out at fading 94. And it wasn't magic about it. That was a double top big time. You know, and I didn't really think it was going to crater as much as it did, but sometimes you just got to get ready to take them. See, that lightning would have already triggered. See it? Red? That would have triggered your trade. Stealth's a little later than that. There's your stealth right there. Okay. Now stealth, if you don't go ahead and take a stealth and if, you know, just put a nice tight stop just in case it decides to come up off this mid band, then what you want to do is you want to wait for a second stealth, but you don't always get them. When they dropped like oil did this morning, you don't get that second stealth. Okay. But that's another tool that we've got in Object Trader that you can definitely trade. Now, we didn't get that particular trade, remember? We actually got the retrace trade. And it did retrace. Okay, let's see. CL shotgun down after the room closed. Oh, CL's been, you know, matter of fact, when it hit that high, that 60.92, it hadn't quit going down, period. You know, so let's go over some scenarios. Let's do it after the room closed. That's a good idea. Because I didn't even look at charts hardly after the room closed at all. We'll fast forward this and go to 10 o'clock. We'll just let it fast forward. I'll go 500 times so it goes fairly quick. All right, let's say that you happen to decide to go to your computer at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to go to 10 o'clock. Let it go ahead and just go an hour from now. Let it do its thing. Or we could actually go more 9 o'clock. That's also a good time that they do some things. All right, let's see here. All right, so you come to your computer, it's 9 a.m., 9:02. What's your next move on this chart? Anybody? Are you looking for a long or a short? What says the team? You would be looking for shorts, right? But keep in mind, could you actually get, you know, a fairly decent little pop? Because we actually took a little trade this morning, and I'll show you where we took it. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, and you tell me if you would take this long. First off, it popped up a little bit, and it came down, and it kissed right at mid-band. See that right there? Now that is an area right there that you can, if you want to try to get a quick little trade, you can take that trade. Because what it's doing on the left side of the chart, you have a high, a low, lower low, right? A high, a little lower low. So basically when this started changing trends on what we call the minor trend was right there. When it broke up above that box, it was starting to stair step up. Okay, on what we call the minor trend. But this little trade right here is not a bad little trade, because if this is going to go up, this should bounce right off of this line right here and no lower. Okay, and I would probably put it on exit on close, because we actually did take that trade in the room this morning. Okay, but we weren't expecting anything more than a scalp. All right, and what I would do is take some coin right here, like so, and then I'd probably even take some coin at Phantom, because a lot of times they'll come to Phantom at line 7 and they'll roll over. Okay, but that's still not a bad little trade, because keep in mind that a lot of trend changes happen at transitions. Okay, where you can box them in. Now, I didn't box that in, I just fired it. But the way you'd box this would be like this. You'd simply go region, and let's just kill it and do it the right way. There you go. And we'll just go for, since it's a short background, we'll just try to get like 10 or 12 ticks. Okay. And this trade was actually called in the room. Look at that bounce off my line. I'd probably have tightened that a little bit. Matter of fact, I would tighten it a little bit like that if I was boxing it. See how it's trying to bounce on the left? 2 ticks, there you go, you're in. And I'd put my stop nice and tight. And we did call that trade. But here's the thing though, sometimes when you get a trade like this, you miss the real trade, which is actually going to be to the short side, because this had dropped a lot. Okay, so let's slow this down for just a minute. Did everybody see that hit line 7 right there? Is this another area that you could actually box this trade for a short type trade? So you can actually move that box while it's live on the chart. If that actually goes 2 ticks under that box, it should fire. Right now it's right at the box. I'm looking at line 6, short, okay? But keep in mind that that trade that was called this morning, right off of, matter of fact, 30, wasn't it 30 we called? 30 on the money. And it came down to 27, so you felt 3 ticks of heat. Okay? See if we can get this trade even better than it is. If you get a lower high, they're going to break that. But keep in mind when in the room, for instance, when I call a phantom, to give an example, those can be really good trades. Okay? Now I know Charles doesn't particularly like a phantom, and I'm going to show you how to take the next trade if you don't like the phantom as much. But you've got to wait for the thrust and the retrace. Okay? Let's speed this up again. I'd retighten that box. And there's your trade. All right, since it's a short background, I'd probably tighten my stop. I'm risking $300 even with that. That's pretty heavy. And since I don't have an extra target down here, unfortunately, I'll have to just take the one target off. Now I'll bring my stop more like that. Only risking 5, and we're flat. Okay. Now, if you weren't gutsy enough to take the phantom trade, and by the way, if you're going to take a phantom trade, be sure and turn your targets back on also, because that was in the direction of the trend, and I forgot to turn that back on. But if you do like 3 contracts, to give an example, you want it to kind of hit a target, another target, that type of thing. Okay. So let me ask a quick question now. If you weren't in the phantom trade, where's the next trade on this chart? Anybody? because I'll just about bet you that if you draw on your charts, you'll figure it out. So let's draw on our charts. All right, stair-stepping down right now, you can't take out this swing right here, right? Because it's stair-stepping down. Otherwise, they'll be stair-stepping up. All right, so if they break and they come back and kiss, I'd be looking for a short trade right in through here. If they pop down, come back and kiss and roll. Let's see if we can get it. Now keep in mind, we're not the thrust trader. We already got that first trade, so we got to wait for a thrust and a pullback. If we get it, there's your thrust. All right. Now, where's our trade on this chart now? Okay, draw on our chart. We have checked that right there, by the way. We have not checked right here to the left at 23, and we haven't checked, let's see, they did check 27, but they kind of took it out. So a lot of times they'll recheck it, but I'd probably be looking for a short trade as it comes back up and rolls over. Let's see if we can get it. I'll just watch it manually and see if we can get it. Just draw on your charts. Always prepare your charts for trading. Okay, this is just the opposite of the trade I called in the room this morning on the long. We're just looking upside down. Remember, this trade was called at 36, and this trade you'd probably be looking for right in this little sweet spot that I got this line drawn. Simply because you can't take out a previous swing if they're going to head down. So they can't go any higher than 29. They could check it, but they shouldn't be able to go any higher. They should even hit their head at this line right here at 27, but they might even hit their head at 22 or 3. See it right here? Right there at that swing. So could we be ready to take that trade if they decide to roll? Can't take out this swing. There you go, you got your trade. And I'd put my stop fairly tight. Everybody see how drawing on your charts can really pay off? Okay? And keep in mind that if you got this trade earlier that I called and we got 60 ticks on that, you don't care about some of these others. If you got 60 ticks with 2 contracts, that made more in, what was that, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that? For a 60 tick move, why would anybody care after that? You know, the beauty of trading is to get green and walk away. All right, because if you don't, see, like right here now, they're testing this area right here. They may take us out. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. That one went higher. Okay, now let's see if we can get back in it. It barely took out this swing on the left right here. That's an identified swing. Let's see if it rolls over. If it rolls below that right there at support, I would take it again. Because this is a mid-band trade. Let's see if we can box it in. So if it takes out that swing right there, we'll take it. Now, one thing I want everybody to take away from this tonight too, is if you're really good at drawing on your charts, you know, and you take a trade, see, that one didn't work for us exactly simply because they went higher, and that's fine, but notice how we had a really tight, nice stop on it. All right, we're going to try to get another trade, though, if it'll do this mid-band. It looks like it might. There's support right there on the left. All right, we're in. Nice tight stop on the swing, exit on close. Okay, everybody see that? So keep in mind that if you take a trade more like I did just a few minutes ago that turned out to be a little bit more of a fake, put a nice tight stop on it, because that one did come up to mid-band, okay? And it even took it out a little bit, all right? But that's not a big deal as far as that goes, simply because there's more money to be made on these charts. You got support all the way down here. Could they break that? You could run a runner. You could take everything off down at the bottom and just see if it does. And I definitely tighten my stop now, just right above that swing. See, now we're only risking 2 ticks. And they do that. See how that bounced off of support? Still holding resistance. It looks like we're going to be okay, maybe, if they don't take out that line right there. Whoa, that was close. We're still okay. All right. So let's go over some other scenarios, because I want everybody to see if they can nail these trades, okay? We're going to just pick the next trade and see if you can get it. By the way, shortly after we closed the room, oil shotgunned. I don't know what came in or what actually happened, but oil shotgunned. And I'm pretty sure it was in somewhere right in this area right here that's going to do it. But what I want everybody to see, though, is let's just not be in a trade. Matter of fact, we'll just go ahead and close it out. That's fine. It's closed. All right, and let's see if we can get another trade. All right, let's use our lightning this time around. All right, now here's one thing I want to go over real quick. If you don't take out lows, okay, and you get these double bottoms like this, see how it's like that? Now, is this actually a long trade yet? Well, technically it could be if you bought it above that line where I had this swing, but that's iffy because you got that red background. But what I'm going to teach tonight's a little bit more of, staying with the particular trend, and just watch Lightning 1 and see if you can't see where the trade sets up. See where Lightning, you got a high, you got a low, you're getting a lower high so far. Could this actually be trying to roll over? We're going to find out. It could just bounce off support at 22. Let's see if it'll Lightning on up or what we're going to do. Rolled over. See there? Just box it in. Okay? Everybody see that? Lightning was heading up. Lightning's heading down. And Lightning started heading down right there when you got a high, you got a low, and you got a lower high. And then they took out the swing. That made that an identified swing right here when that took out that low. All right, now usually if you get this trade right here, I wouldn't even worry about trading anymore. But let's see if we can do this exact same thing. And anytime they shotgun like that, you're going to have squirrely Lightning. So I'll turn it off for a minute. Let's see, confused about taking a mid-band trade when it's sideways, Mindy. Well, keep in mind that what you want to do, let me pause this a second. I'm going to show you. What you want to do is, first off, you basically want to take, and this was sideways, there's no question about it. You had that pink mid-band. But this is not the transition background, though. The transition background is the phantom. See that transition background? That's the phantom. And then your other transition background is your other phantom. Okay, but this one never boxed in and went unless you just happen to have bought, down at, under line 2 and got your little scalp. But that's a phantom on the long side. This is a phantom on the short side. Now, on mid-bands and everything, keep in mind you're still going to have what's called Lightning, okay? Because let's just look at this, and let me go to the chart that has nothing on it without the bars so that you can actually see it. Let me see, that was at 1029. Let's go with this one. And I'm going to get rid of Lightning 3. And I'm going to get rid of Lightning 1 except to right here. All right. So by what I just taught, and let me turn this off too. I'm going to try to make this as unconfusing as possible. Okay, and don't pay any attention to this over here for right now. We're just looking strictly here. Notice how this came down to a bottom and it started stair-stepping up. Okay, stair-stepping up, even kissed resistance. Okay, but when did it start stair-stepping down? Remember, just like that little chart, except it's the opposite direction. Okay, this is an uptrend, but it's still the same thing. You just flip the chart over. Okay, so when this started losing lightning was right there when it broke that line. Because see, at the time, and this wasn't real, it was actually showing it as we were doing it. Remember that went up and I said you were getting a lower high? Okay, so when does this actually break lightning to get you short? And it's right there under 25, right underneath that swing. And that's where you can box it in, like so. Now that's trading the right side of the chart. Okay, you could also draw a trend line, you know, under your lows. See your lows right here? You can draw you a trend line like so, and see, you could box it. See, that's pretty much getting you in a little earlier with the trend line break. Okay, but boxing it right there, this is where lightning actually changed directions. You know, remember, I think I did a webinar quite a while ago where we actually just drew actual stair steps. You know, just think of trading just like this. You know, you've got actually a step that's going up, and it goes over like this. Well, when you're walking up even a set of stairs, you're actually looking at something like this, right? So you're on the ground and you step, and then you step again. So that is obviously an uptrend, right? Let's bring it down, right? Like a set of stairs. Don't like drawing with Ninja Trader. All right, so that's, you know, just basically you're on the ground floor right here. All right, that's your green grass and everything, and you step on the steps to your house. That's an uptrend, okay? But in trading, it does it more in zigzags, okay? And that's the beauty of our system too, is because a zigzag is zigzagging up until it zigzags down, and it actually breaks that swing right across there, and that's why we box. Now, if you were wrong on this trade, let's say that you got this trade right here. Well, that's an identified swing, so couldn't you put your stop just right above it? Just in case they just wicked it and then decided to go up instead. But when they start stair-stepping down, that's not a bad place to do it. Now look at this little chart here too. This is actually the same thing. It is the true chart and everything. But see how they had come up and checked this level here, and then they rolled over? That's pretty much that same little box. So you were, even with one range charts, you were thrust down, little retrace, thrust down, and see it started breaking. That's kind of hard to see when it's flashing. But you see this right here? This is really important, you know, so that you don't catch a huge uptrend. Because what if instead of what this did, that, let's just pretend this didn't happen, although I can't change lightning on here, right? But what if it would have done this instead? Like that. Pretend the red's not here. Would this then be a downtrend at all? No, because you'd have a high, a low, a higher high, and a higher low, but you don't know any low until it takes out the previous swing. So this is not even an established low till it takes out that swing. This is not established low till it takes out that swing. So that's on the upside. But what about the downside? Same thing. High, low, lower high, lower low. And you're starting to break. And plus, we also give the backgrounds and everything else. So, you know, this was a no-brainer short. But the place to take it was right there. Just right underneath that swing. Okay. Now, you could have even boxed it here if you're a little bit more gutsy, because that's a mid-band trade. And a lot of our traders like them when they come above mid-band and then go back below it. And then they put their stop right there. This is also a good trade. that would be called a mid-band trade. This is a little bit more of a breakout trade as far as lightning, 1, 2, 3. Okay. You know, and keep in mind, since we're retracement traders, we're looking for these mid-band trades and also these minimum criteria trades. Because could you have taken this trade here? Well, matter of fact, we took it a few minutes ago. Remember, I said it wouldn't come up and take this out, so we basically took this trade down to the bottom, and then this one over here. You know, if you don't trust these in here as much, just strictly look for these. You know, but if you do that, you're gonna miss some trades like this. Let me just show you Russell real quick. Bear with it just a second, it's loading. Because we missed it. I mean, you know, when they do this stuff right here, let me go back over here. All right, this was what was happening when we opened the room. All right, remember I even drew a trend line on this. Be sure and draw your trend lines under these lows. See how you had a low, a higher low, and a higher low? That was right when we opened the room. So I had a trend line drawn like this. Actually, it was probably even drawn from this one to that one, because you don't have to draw more than 2 points on larger swings. Say if you had it drawn like that, okay? And we were looking at the open for a bounce possibly off that trend line, and it didn't. But let's say, for instance, that you're thinking this could be a phantom trade. All right? If this was a phantom trade, you could box it in. If it got you long, which see it didn't, it actually broke the trend line. And this particular one never gave another spot to get in except when it touched that stealth. If I remember right, it came up to stealth right there. See it? That was a trade that we called on Russell also. But it never hit what we call the minimum criteria trade. Okay? But looking at this same thing, if you were seeing this in real time, is this a low, a high, higher low, little higher high, higher low, higher high? Okay, now will lightning draw it? I kind of doubt it. But you can see it with your eye. It did draw it. Okay, so when did this actually break going back down? Just like the other one. Well, you had a high, you had a low, you had a higher high. So when it took out this swing right here, that was heading down. Everybody see that? Okay, so that way you're not catching, you know, a missile. What if this would have gone high, low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and so on until it got to mid-band and then rolled over? Well, you've always got to look at, you know, what's happening at the moment with your lightning swings, because this trade was called in the room this morning. This trade was missed entirely. I mean, they dropped that like a stone. Now, some of our people caught it because they drew a trend line on their chart. They boxed in phantom. They saw support. They saw a lower high here. So you had a high, you had a low, you had a lower high. When they took this out, we got a little indicator that'll actually flash on that, by the way. That's potential short trend. It should flash right in here. I think it should. High, low, lower high, lower low. Is that flashing on it? That might be flashing on that one. No? No flashy. I don't know. Let's see. Potential short trend change on. So, well, no, you had a swing here too. So it would have had to do a low, yeah, lower low and then break. So you didn't get that. But again, we did call that trade here. A person could have gotten it. But keep in mind, when you want to take this trade, you know, when it kisses the stealth, to give an example, you know, is when it takes out that little swing or draw a trend line on it. You know, don't be afraid of a trade that goes your way, but also be very cautious of trades zapping you around, because, you know, but keep in mind that when they're stair-stepping and they're really dropping, that's a lot safer trade to take a little breakout trade, especially if it does a little lightning up and then you box it and it breaks. This one did a lightning up Right here, you had a low, you had a high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So you could have technically boxed it right here, put your stop above here, and it never got you either. So there were several, opportunities even through there, even on the lightning way to do it. Okay. There was another trade. We did call this one, by the way. We nailed this one in the room this morning. And if you're a little leery of jumping in trades until they actually start going your way, try the mid-band trade, and it rolled over. You box it in your mind even, and you see if it breaks that little area right across there, and you put your stop. We nailed that trade right to that low this morning, but we actually got in a little higher up because we basically boxed it more like that, where it's a nice quick break. You could also draw a trend line on it. When it breaks that trend line, take a trade. Okay. How many of you traded Russell after the room closed at all? Anybody? There was a phantom trade, by the way. There was another phantom trade. There was a mid-band trade, worked out. Mid-band trade worked out. And that's basically the end of my data. But see these mid-band trades, how they're working out perfectly. How many boxes could you do across these areas like this? Mid-band trade, mid-band trade. This one here, you never got it. It's stair-stepping. It breaks right here. You'd probably be in. So didn't go back up the top. Might have taken you out on that one. I'd box it again, get it again, and probably got it. Okay. Because anytime you take a little breakout trade, you got to put your swing, your stop at the swing. Otherwise, just do something like this. If you decide that you want to get in on these blue bars when it hits line 5, that one took it out. I would have gotten taken on that trade because I'm not going to give them all the way to phantom. So if I would have boxed that and gotten in, and it started stair stepping down and got me a little scalp, and then it went back up and took me out, I'd be out of the trade. But then you could always get back in. Okay. Anybody have any questions on any of this? This is a good way to, prepare your charts every single day. Always look to the left to trade the right. I'd say that's the most important thing I can teach anybody. And you're going to see time and time again that you'll get some good trades. Let's fast forward this and see if y'all can see some more trades. Stair stepping up. Broke. Stops right there. Stops right there. Took you out. Box it again. Hopefully I've got data. You're in. See there? I'm doing this fast, so just so that you can see the trades more clearly. But see how that was a high, low, higher, high? Break. Comes back and kisses. Takes you out. Box in again. That might have faked you right there. That is a phantom, by the way. I'm going pretty quick on this. You want to just see if we can take one just for the fun of it? Let's see if we can. Got it late. Yeah, got it too late. I was trying to get that trade right there when it hit that line 6, but I got it going 500 times, so I'm not even that good. All right. And that's like, what, 445? Well, that's almost at the close right there. But look at these mid-band trades. Another mid-band trade. And now what is Russell actually doing? Well, about 3 o'clock or so, or close to 2 anyway, it started changing trends. So you're looking for mid-band, you're looking for mid-band, you're looking for mid-band. And again, you just get these trades and go for the previous level on the left. And if it doesn't take it out and it takes you out, go in again. Could you scalp this thing 10 ticks, 10 ticks, 10 ticks? Probably. I don't normally like to take 2 mid-bands in a row if they don't take out the previous high. Because if you took this one and you got like 10 tick trade and then they come back and they give you a higher low, I doubt if I would have taken that one too. But I would have probably taken this one because it hit a predictor. because I trust these predictors pretty well. Okay, I hope this helped everybody out. You know, will you hit on every single trade? No. You know, but in the room this morning we did. We missed Russell, but you know, we got that trade literally even after that happened. We nailed this trade right there. And even that trade right there with 3 contracts was a couple of $100. So, you know, who cares? Missed this one? Oh well. Called it right here, so somebody could have gotten it. That's an iffy trade, though. I don't like it when it doesn't at least come closer into this mid-band, at least into this line 3 area. You know, and that's where we have the mid-band turn on, is in this area right here on the short side, and we have it turn on this area on the long side. Okay. All right, so we'll do this again tomorrow for real, and we'll be in the room bright and early tomorrow morning at 7:55. Did I miss any questions at all? Bear with me a second. I'll go ahead and check the log just real quick. How many ticks does it take to establish a low or a high? Steve, well, on your question, keep in mind that on a 4-range chart, you're looking at, well, this is lightning 1 right here. You can even use lightning 2. Now, what I normally use them for instead of actually the trades is not so much to get the trade, because that's a little bit more of a breakout trade. You know, we teach 3 trades just almost religiously. One of them is mid-band, one of them is minimum criteria, and one of them is phantom. And those are your 3 trades that will really, you know, pretty much pepper your account with coin. To give an example, right here, short line 6, you got a 10-tick trade at least. You probably even got it on this side of it. All right, mid-band trade, did you get 10 ticks, 10 ticks, 10 ticks? You can do that. And you don't have to stay in a trade all day to do it as far as that goes, because, you know, for every trend like this where they just drop like a stone, there's this stuff. But we still have our phantom trade that we get, and we have our mid-band trade that we get long. So if you look for these particular trades right here, that'll pretty much make a lot of difference in your trading. Now, I like deeper retracements myself when they come deep. For instance, like here on Russell at 8:30, that to me is a good long. I mean, that's a real good long. That's a phantom trade. I even called it in the room this morning. Did it materialize into a great trade that just went up like crazy? No. But if you bought that at line 2 where I had that box, that was a 20-tick trade. And that's a $100 bill per contract. You know, when it finally broke that support right there, it was pretty much heading down. Okay? Hope everybody enjoyed this, and just keep in mind, we keep the same charts every single day. You know, I don't recommend looking at lightning like this. Simply go to the right side of the chart and turn it on only in a little area. Let the rest of it go off. Or even if you're looking, you know, for instance, where is this going to, you have a high, low, lower, high, lower, low. When is this going to actually break support? Well, you could consider this ABC. If it breaks this, you might want to get out of that trade if you were long. Okay. All right. Predictor colors, Jim, I can explain that real quick. Predictor colors, if you've got a short mid-band, one of the 3 colors, either red, pinkish color here, or the magenta, you will have white predictors and magenta predictors. Those are shorts on the whites. Okay. Now, when you get to a long, instead, you've got green predictors and blue predictors. Okay. And you're looking for longs at the green predictors by boxing them in, like around mid-band stuff. And like I said, I don't really like them as much unless they do at least touch a predictor box. Didn't touch. This one did box. You know, because when they don't touch it like that, what if you would have gone right here and you said, okay, I'm going to take this trade, and instead of going long on it, it happened to take out this little support instead. Well, I don't like it as much because it didn't come into a predictor. So I'd probably skip that trade and take that trade. And I don't see any other trade since. unless it comes down to a predictor again and bounces. Okay, drawing your charts. You can tell, you got a high here, a low here, high here. So if they take that out, they're no longer heading up, even on a little bit more of a secondary trend. But here's your overall lightning 3. So until they take this out, they're not heading down yet. But that's just as of right now. They could actually make another one and get it up this high and then break it. Okay, we'll talk about that some other time too. Okay, let's see. When it breaks PM1, confused about taking a mid-band trade. Basically, I see what you mean when it's sideways. But keep in mind that, even when Charles teaches this in his webinars all the time, and Charles is only a mid-band type trader. He doesn't look for other trades, and he's pretty darn good at it. But also keep in mind that you want it to get the thrust, get the mid-band trade. Get the thrust, get the mid-band trade. Get the thrust, get the mid-band trade. Uh-oh, didn't take out the low. So you got to be careful when you box this one in. See what I mean? Because it didn't thrust. You want to be stair-stepping when you take these mid-band trades. Okay? If they're not stair-stepping and they don't take out these lows, then you're starting to go sideways or possibly even up like they did in this case. Okay? Now, would you take this mid-band trade anyway here? Yes. But let's say that you had taken this trade and you used this same area and boxed it. You'd take some coin, and if it started stair-stepping back up, you get out of the trade. You could get out on that bar right there as it started lightening back up. Okay? All right. Anybody has any questions, feel free to call in the morning. I should have the new alert indicator finished up for you. I got it totally licensed. I tested it out today. I think everything's cool on it. I don't have any problems with it at all. I'll also give you that new trend line that I got from one of our members. We just named it Object Trader Auto Wedge just so it'll be in the line of the tools, but I'll tell you right up front, it's not my indicator. It was somebody else's. But, it draws a nice auto trend line. And then we also added the power trend to give you the colors, which you don't have right now, but you can choose any color you want. So that'll be the new little updates that are coming. Okay, did I miss any other questions? Brian, can you explain the box? What makes you determine to use a wick or not? I like personally 2 ticks above a box. See, the thing is, if you draw a box on a chart, let's just pretend that's a box. Well, what if the bar closed right there inside that box? Then you aren't getting filled until it's up here and then getting the tick. And by then it's breaking out, so it's going to give you a bad feel. Okay. I like the touches simply because, like I said, they can close inside the box, then they have to close outside to trigger the trade. But with a touch, all it has to do is touch outside the box and then plus 1 more tick. And technically that's a 3-tick trade anyway, because it has to do 2 above. And if it retraces even a little bit, it has to break that again and do the extra tick. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will have this webinar posted here in just a little bit. Okay, and any questions in the morning, just be sure and ask if I missed any in the webinar. All right, thanks again, everyone. Draw on your charts.